The alarm systems across Station Outpost 7 began their warning sequence at 3:47 in the morning. Commander Peter Grant was asleep in his quarters when the sound pulled him from dreams of Earth's oceans. He sat up fast, reaching for his uniform before his eyes fully opened. After 4 years running this station at the edge of human space, he knew what different alarm patterns meant. This one was new. Katie Moore sat at the sensor station in the command center, her hands moving across the control panel with quick precision. She had been monitoring the deep space scanners for 6 hours, watching nothing but empty darkness and distant stars. Then something appeared on her screens that made no sense at all. A contact was approaching from the eastern edge of the galaxy, moving at a speed that broke every law of physics she had learned in the academy. Peter arrived in the command center still fastening his jacket. The room hummed with activity as other crew members rushed to their stations. He moved to Katie's position and looked at her display. A single dot of light moved across the star map, covering distances that should take days in mere minutes. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant?" Peter asked, though he already felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. Katie pulled up the velocity readings. "Unknown contact, sir. Moving through normal space at speeds that should tear any ship apart. No identification signal, no communication, nothing in our database matches this signature." Peter watched the dot move closer. Ships traveled through hyperspace lanes between stars, following established routes that bent reality in controlled ways. This thing was moving through regular space faster than anything he had ever seen. "Run full diagnostics on the sensor array. This could be a malfunction." "Already done, sir. 3 times. All systems are working perfectly. The contact is real. Distance and time to our position?" Katie checked her calculations again, hoping they would change. They did not. 4 light hours away and closing. "At current speed, it will reach us in 6 hours. Peter felt his mouth go dry. Nothing moved that fast. Nothing should be able to move that fast. "Does it have any weapons locked on us?" "I cannot tell, sir. The contact is absorbing our scanner beams. We are getting almost no data back except position and speed." Peter made his decision quickly. "Sound General Alert. Wake everyone. Get me a direct quantum link to Fleet Command on Earth." The station came alive as crew members rushed to battle stations. Defensive shields powered up with a deep thrumming sound that vibrated through the metal floors. Weapon systems activated, their targeting computers searching for threats. In the communications room, Danny Walsh established the Ansible connection that would let them talk to Earth instantly, despite the 12 light years between them. Admiral Christine Palmer appeared on the screen, her face showing she had been woken from sleep. Her expression changed fast when Peter explained what his sensors were detecting. "Say that again, Commander. You have an unidentified vessel moving faster than light through normal space?" "Yes, Admiral. Current speed indicates technology we have never seen before. Nothing in any database matches this profile." Christine was quiet for a moment, thinking. Could it be one of the Kryn experimental drives? They have been working on new propulsion systems. We checked every known drive signature in the galaxy. This matches nothing. Not human, not Kryn, not Veldari, nothing. Time until it reaches your position. 5 hours now, Admiral. Christine's face became hard with decision. "I am sending the 5th Fleet to you immediately. Admiral Jack Monroe is running exercises in your sector. He can reach you in 8 hours. The contact will arrive before the fleet, Admiral." "I know. Hold your position, Commander. Try to establish contact on all frequencies. If it shows hostile intent, you may defend yourself, but do not fire first." "We have no idea what this is." The connection ended. Peter stood alone for a moment watching the tactical display. The unknown contact continued toward them, unwavering and silent. Around him, Station Outpost 7 prepared for whatever was coming. Dr. Helen Cole ran into the science bay, still pulling her lab coat on over her sleep clothes. Her team was already gathering data, trying to understand what they were seeing. Helen had spent 20 years studying alien technology from every known species. She had never seen anything like this. "It is not generating a hyperspace field," she said to herself, studying the energy readings. "It is moving through normal space, but the speed is impossible." Her assistant, Carl Bennett, looked over her shoulder. Could it be phasing between dimensions?
"No phase distortion in the readings."
"Whatever this is, it exists fully in our reality. It is just moving in ways that should not be possible." Helen pulled up more data. "Look at the hull material. Our scanners cannot get a solid reading. It is like the ship is made of something that absorbs or reflects our sensor beams." Stealth technology? Maybe. Or something completely different. In the command center, Danny Walsh was broadcasting messages on every frequency humans knew. Radio waves, laser communications, quantum signals, even simple mathematical sequences that any intelligent species should recognize. He sent greetings in 43 different languages and number patterns designed to show peaceful intent. No response came back. The vessel continued its approach in complete silence. Peter stood at the command station, watching the minutes count down. Kevin Torres at Tactical had every weapon ready to fire, though they all knew their railguns and missiles were designed for normal ships that followed normal physics. If this thing was hostile, their weapons might be useless. 4 hours to contact, Katie announced. Peter nodded. Every crew member on the station knew their job and did it well. They had trained for pirate attacks, equipment failures, even boarding actions. Nobody had trained for this. An unknown vessel approaching at impossible speeds, refusing all communication, showing technology that made human engineering look primitive. Helen came to the command center with her data pad. Commander, I analyzed the energy signature. Whatever powers that ship generates more energy than our entire station by 1,000 times at least. Could it be a weapon? Could be. Or it might just be their engine. Without more data, I cannot tell you which. Peter looked at the tactical display again. The dot representing the unknown vessel grew steadily closer. Behind it, far too far away to help, Admiral Monroe pushed his fleet to maximum speed. On Earth, the government was holding emergency meetings. Throughout human space, people watched their screens and waited to see what would happen. 3 hours, Katie said quietly. The unknown vessel came closer. Station Outpost 7 waited in the darkness, a small human outpost at the edge of their territory, facing something that might be a threat or might be something else entirely. Peter Grant stood in his command center and watched the countdown continue, knowing that in 3 hours, humanity would learn whether they had made a new friend or discovered a new enemy. The station's weapons were ready. The shields were at maximum power. The crew was prepared. But as Peter watched that impossible dot move across his display, cutting through space at speeds that mocked everything humanity thought they knew about the universe, he wondered if being prepared would be enough. Admiral Jack Monroe stood on the bridge of his flagship, the ESS Valiant, staring at the message from Station Outpost 7. His fleet of 23 warships had been running practice maneuvers in empty space when the emergency transmission arrived. Now they were pushing their engines beyond safe limits, racing toward the station at maximum speed. We are still 8 hours away, Commander Lisa Hayes reported from the tactical station. The unknown contact will reach the station in 90 minutes. Jack did not take his eyes from the display. Push the engines harder. I want every reactor feeding power to the drives. Sir, we could damage the systems permanently. I would rather have damaged engines than a destroyed station. Do it. Throughout the fleet, ships accelerated to dangerous speeds. Their engine trails burned bright enough to light up the darkness of space. But even at maximum thrust, they would arrive too late. At Station Outpost 7, Peter Grant gathered his officers in the command center. The tension in the room felt thick enough to touch. Everyone knew what was at stake. An unknown vessel with impossible technology was approaching, and humanity had no idea what it wanted. Shields at maximum, Kevin Torres reported. All weapons ready. Point defense systems active. Communications? Peter asked. Danny Walsh shook his head. Still no response on any channel, sir. We have tried everything. If they are receiving our messages, they are not answering. Peter looked at the main display. The contact had slowed down somehow, going from incredible speed to a complete stop in just seconds. The deceleration forces should have turned any crew inside into liquid. But the vessel hung in space exactly 1 million kilometers away, silent and still. That stop should have killed anyone inside, Helen said quietly, unless they have inertial dampening technology that is centuries beyond ours. Distance holding at 1 million kilometers, Katie confirmed. No further movement detected. Peter made a decision. Danny broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them they have entered human territory. Ask them to identify themselves and state their intentions. The message went out across space, traveling at the speed of light. The crew waited, hoping for a response. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 5. The unknown vessel remained silent, hanging in the darkness like a waiting predator. Try again, Peter ordered. "Tell them we mean no harm. We seek peaceful communication." Still nothing came back. The silence felt worse than any threat. Peter could handle aggression, could respond to attacks with clear procedures and trained responses. But this silence left them helpless, waiting for something they could not predict. Kevin Torres spoke carefully. "Sir, if we are going to fire first, now would be the optimal time. The target is stationary and within maximum range. We might not get another chance. And if we fire first, we might start a war we cannot win," Peter replied. "We might already be in a war, sir. That ship is not responding because it does not think we matter." Before Peter could answer, Katie interrupted urgently. "Sir, the vessel is changing." Something is happening to its surface. Everyone turned to the main display. The unknown ship began to shift, its hull rippling like liquid metal. Sections slid apart, revealing internal structures that glowed with warm amber light. It looked almost organic, almost alive. "Energy signature increasing," Helen reported, her voice tight. "Power output is going up exponentially." "Shields," Peter ordered. "Shields at maximum, sir." The unknown vessel pulsed once with brilliant light. Every sensor on Station Outpost 7 went dark. Communication systems crashed. The main display filled with static. For 3 terrible seconds, the station's computer core went completely offline. When the systems came back, Peter found himself staring at something impossible. Floating in space between the station and the unknown vessel was a perfect sphere, about 50 meters across, glowing with that same amber light. And on every screen, every display, every surface that could show an image, text appeared in perfect English. "We mean no harm. We wish to speak. One representative unarmed. We will wait." The message repeated in other languages. Peter recognized Kryn and Veldari among them. The unknown vessel had just demonstrated technology that could bypass every security system humanity possessed, create matter from nothing, and communicate in languages it should have no way of knowing. "What do we do?" Katie whispered. Peter straightened his uniform. "Get me a shuttle. I am going out there." The argument that followed was short but intense. Admiral Palmer sent an immediate order forbidding Peter from going alone. But by the time the order arrived, Peter was already in the hangar bay, pulling on a pressure suit. "Sir, the Admiral specifically ordered you not to go alone," Danny protested. "Then I will not go alone," Peter replied. He turned to the crew members who had followed him. "I need 2 volunteers. 1 scientist, 1 military officer." Helen and Katie both stepped forward immediately. Peter nodded. "Dr. Cole, you understand alien technology better than anyone. Lieutenant Moore, you have the steadiest hands on this station. Danny, you have command until I return." 10 minutes later, a small shuttle detached from the station and drifted toward the amber sphere. Peter piloted carefully, keeping their speed slow and non-threatening. Katie monitored the sensors while Helen recorded everything. "Distance 500 meters, Katie reported. The sphere is not reacting to our approach. Any weapons lock? Nothing. It is just waiting." As they got closer, the sphere's surface became clearer. It was not solid, but appeared to be made of light itself, with patterns flowing across it like frozen aurora lights. Peter could not see any doors or docking ports. "How are we supposed to get inside?" Helen wondered. Her question was answered when they reached 50 meters. A section of the sphere simply opened, darkness spreading across the light like ink in water. Beyond, they could see a chamber glowing with amber light. "I guess we go in," Peter said. The shuttle passed through the opening, which sealed behind them. They found themselves in a perfectly spherical space about 30 meters across. The walls seemed both solid and see-through at the same time. When the shuttle settled on the floor flattened beneath it to accommodate them. "Atmosphere reading?" Katie checked her instruments. "Oxygen and nitrogen mix almost exactly like Earth. Temperature 20 degrees. Pressure standard. It is perfect for us." "They built this specifically for humans," Helen breathed. "They are adapting to make us comfortable." Peter opened his helmet cautiously. The air smelled clean with a slight metallic tang. "Stay alert. Keep your communications open." They exited the shuttle and stood in the center of the chamber. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the amber light began to gather, pulling together into a single point about 3 meters in front of them. The light took shape, forming a figure roughly 2 meters tall. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. The proportions were slightly wrong, the movements too smooth and fluid. Where a face should be, there was only a blank surface. but the attempt at a familiar form was clear. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, bypassing their ears and registering directly in their minds. I apologize for the unusual contact method. Your communication systems were limiting. I needed a more direct interface. Peter found his voice. You speak English. I speak all languages. Language is merely pattern and meaning. Once I observed your transmissions, understanding followed. The figure tilted its head. I am called Meridian. I serve as interface for the collective. Collective? Helen stepped forward. Are you representing a group consciousness? Not exactly. We are individuals who chose unity. Think of me as a diplomat, though that word is insufficient. Katie's hand had moved to her sidearm. Why are you here? What do you want? Meridian was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, there was something in its tone that might have been concern. 18 years ago, we detected unusual quantum signals from this region of space. The pattern suggested a new species had developed faster than light travel. We have been observing you since then. You have been watching us for 18 years? Peter felt cold despite the comfortable temperature. Yes, and we are deeply concerned. Your species shows patterns we have seen before. Rapid expansion, aggressive behavior, fierce independence, and self-destructive conflict. These traits mark you as potentially dangerous. Dangerous to whom? To yourselves. And possibly to the galaxy. Meridian began to pace. 3,000 years ago, another species like yours emerged in the galactic core. They called themselves the Kalith. They were clever and aggressive from a harsh world. Within 2 centuries, they had conquered 17 systems through superior tactics and weapons. What happened to them? The elder species united and destroyed them. The war lasted 40 years and killed 2 billion beings. The Kalith were exterminated completely. The chamber fell silent. Peter stared at the figure, trying to process what he was hearing. Are you here to warn us or to destroy us before we become a threat? Neither. Meridian raised its hands. I am here to offer a choice. The galaxy knows about humanity. Most view you as unimportant, but some have studied your history and see what the Kalith were. They will move against you eventually. What is your stake in this? We are what remains of the Kalith. Peter felt the words hit him like a physical blow. The revelation changed everything. The emergency session of the Terran Parliament began 6 hours after Meridian's broadcast reached Earth. Representatives from all 12 human colonies gathered in the Grand Chamber, their faces appearing on massive screens that surrounded the circular room. President Maria Santos stood at the central podium, her expression grave. We face a decision that will determine our future, she began. The Kalith Collective has offered alliance and guidance. Admiral Palmer and Commander Grant will brief us, followed by recommendations from our military and scientific advisors. Admiral Christine Palmer took the podium. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had not slept in over 24 hours. The entity called Meridian remains near Station Outpost 7. It has made no aggressive moves. Our analysis suggests their technology is centuries beyond ours. Their single vessel could likely destroy our entire fleet. However, all evidence suggests they are sincere in their stated intentions. A hologram appeared above the chamber floor, showing the Kalith vessel and the amber sphere where the meeting had taken place. The representatives stared at the images in silence. Senator Marcus Webb from the Mars colony stood up. How can we trust beings who spied on us for 18 years? They watched us, studied our weaknesses, and only revealed themselves now. This is manipulation, not friendship. It is prudence, Senator Grace Portland from Europa Station countered. They waited until we were advanced enough to understand. Would you have believed them 18 years ago when we barely had 3 colonies? That is not the point, Marcus shot back. They want us to limit our expansion, to accept their guidance, to become dependent on them. With respect, Senator, that is not what they offered. Peter Grant spoke from his position at the witness table. After 3 hours with Meridian, I can say they understand the value of independence. They are not asking us to surrender our sovereignty. 3 hours during which they could have manipulated your mind, Defense Minister Raymond Cole argued. We cannot verify their claims about these elder species or the Kalith War. This could be an elaborate trap to make us voluntarily disarm. Dr. Helen Cole stood. Minister, they do not need us to disarm. They could have destroyed the station before we detected them. Instead, they asked permission to help. Or they are preparing us for conquest later. Raymond insisted. The debate raged for hours. Military leaders argued for rejection. insisting humanity had survived every threat through strength and independence. Diplomatic voices urged acceptance, pointing out that the galaxy was crowded and humanity would need allies. Scientists wanted the technology. Politicians worried about sovereignty. Meanwhile, Admiral Jack Monroe met privately with Peter Grant aboard the Valiant. The Fifth Fleet now surrounded the Calith vessel, weapons ready but not targeting. Jack stood at the observation window looking out at the alien ship. "Off the record, Commander. What does your gut tell you?" Peter thought carefully. "Sir, I have fought pirates and raiders. Every hostile contact I ever had started with silence or lies. Meridian answered every question we asked, even the uncomfortable ones. They admitted to watching us. They shared their history, including the part where their ancestors were conquerors who got exterminated. The scorpion and the frog," Jack murmured. "Sir? Old story. A scorpion asks a frog to carry it across a river. The frog refuses, saying the scorpion will sting him. The scorpion argues that would be illogical because they would both drown. The frog agrees. Halfway across, the scorpion stings him. As they are drowning, the frog asks why. The scorpion says, 'It is my nature.' You think the Calith cannot change? I think 3,000 years is a long time, but some things do not change easily." Jack turned to face Peter. "That said, we do not have much choice. If what they say about the elder species is true, we need allies. The question is whether these allies will help us or use us." Back on Earth, the debate reached its peak. President Santos called for order as shouting matches broke out across the chamber. "Enough," her voice cut through the noise. "We will vote. Does the Terran Empire accept the Calith offer of alliance and mentorship?" "All in favor?" The vote was close, 342 to 289 with 14 abstentions. The alliance passed by the narrowest margin in parliamentary history. Maria Santos sat back in her chair, looking exhausted. Admiral Palmer informed Commander Grant he is authorized to negotiate terms with Meridian. As the session ended, senators gathered in groups. Some celebrated, others fumed with anger. Outside the chamber, protests had already begun. Millions of humans viewed the acceptance as surrender, as betrayal of humanity's independent spirit. But the decision was made. Peter returned to the Amber Sphere. Meridian was waiting, its form seeming more relaxed somehow. "Your people have chosen," Meridian said. "It was not a question. By a slim margin, many are not happy about it. That is good." "Good?" "Yes, unanimous decisions often come from fear or manipulation. Divided decisions suggest real debate, competing values, thoughtful consideration. Your species has not been conquered by fear. You chose adaptation over extinction, but you struggled with it. That suggests wisdom." Peter felt some tension leave his shoulders. "So what happens now?" "Now we begin the real work. Ambassador Grant, yes, that is your new title if you accept it. We have much to teach and learn. But first there is someone I want you to meet." The amber light gathered again, forming a second figure beside Meridian. This one was smaller, more delicate, with hints of actual features on its surface. "This is Navigator," Meridian explained. "She will serve as liaison to your scientific community. Together, we will help you understand the galaxy you are entering." Navigator's voice was softer than Meridian's, carrying hints of emotion. "We have waited long for this meeting. Our ancestors and yours share similar wounds. Perhaps together we can heal and build something better." Peter extended his hand. Navigator reached out, and though her form was light rather than flesh, Peter felt warmth where their hands met. "Welcome to the Terran Empire," Peter said. "I hope we prove worthy of your faith." "We shall see," Navigator replied gently. Over the next weeks, Station Outpost 7 transformed. The Calith grew 3 new structures from raw materials, crystalline towers that orbited the station. These housed research centers, cultural exchange facilities, and accommodation for the dozens of alien species that now wanted to meet humanity. The Calith shared some technology, but with an unexpected condition. Much of their knowledge was incompatible with human manufacturing. They manipulated matter at quantum levels and had stopped building things traditionally centuries ago. Human engineers, still working with raw materials and physical construction, had developed solutions the Calith never needed. It created an unexpected balance. Humanity had things to trade, not just receive. Dr. Helen Cole led the scientific exchange program. 300 human students went to Calith academies, while 50 Calith observers joined human universities. The cultural exchange revealed fascinating differences and surprising similarities. But military cooperation proved difficult. The Terran Defense Force split over whether to accept Kalith military advisors. Traditionalists argued that military strength came from independence. Reformists pointed out the Kalith had 3,000 years more experience. The compromise satisfied no one but was acceptable to enough people. Select units would train with Kalith observers, sharing tactical knowledge while maintaining independence. No shared command structures, no integrated weapons, but open communication and joint exercises. Peter Grant settled into his new role as ambassador. His office in the central crystal tower overlooked the busiest diplomatic hub in human space. Ships came and went constantly. Feldari cruisers with spiral hulls docked beside sleek Kryn science vessels. Even the mysterious Shen sent representatives. Admiral Jack Monroe was assigned as military liaison. He visited Peter's office one morning with concerning news. "We have a situation in the Proxima sector," Jack said, showing Peter a data file. 3 days ago, the merchant ship Stellar Dawn was intercepted near Veldari space. Unknown attackers destroyed the escort frigate and captured the merchant vessel. "We have received no ransom demands. Pirates?" The attack pattern does not match any known pirate groups. The tactics were too coordinated, and the technology appears to be a mix of several species' designs. Peter felt cold. "You think someone is testing us?" The Stellar Dawn carried medical supplies and farm equipment, not valuable pirate cargo, but it traveled the new trade route we established with the Veldari, exactly where our patrols are lightest. Who knows our patrol patterns? That is the question. We have been sharing intelligence with 6 species through the coalition. Any could have leaked information. Peter stared out the window.
Have you told Meridian?
Not yet. I wanted to brief you first. But Peter, there has been increased chatter on monitoring systems, references to the human problem and containing the expansion. Some species are nervous about us. More than nervous. Some are actively hostile to humans having Kalith backing. They view it as unfair advantage. Peter made his decision. Schedule a meeting with Meridian and Navigator. If someone is moving against us, we need to know who and why. The meeting happened the next day in a conference chamber that existed. Lieutenant Katie Moore stood in the briefing room aboard the stealth corvette Shadowrunner, studying the holographic display that showed their target. 3 days of planning had led to this moment. The captured merchant vessel Stellar Dawn was being held in a hidden facility, deep in the Zeta Void, a region of space claimed by no government and used by criminals who wanted privacy. Intelligence confirms 24 hostiles at the facility, Katie explained to her team of 12 specialists. Mixed species, mostly hired mercenaries. They are holding the Stellar Dawn crew in a detention block on level 3. Our objective is simple. Get in, get our people out. Leave no casualties if possible. Sergeant Cole Martinez raised his hand. What about resistance? We avoid it. This is a rescue operation, not a revenge mission. We use stealth, we use speed, and we get out before they know what happened. Katie looked at each team member. The galaxy is watching humanity right now. We need to show we can be strong without being brutal. The technology they carried was officially listed as enhanced human stealth systems. In reality, it was carefully disguised Kalith quantum masking that made them nearly invisible to most sensors. Meridian had provided the specs, and human engineers had built it to look like natural technological progression. The Shadowrunner approached the facility under full stealth protocols. The hidden station hung in the void like a dark spider web, its sensors sweeping space for threats. The Corvette slipped past the detection grid, moving slowly to avoid generating any energy signature that might trigger alarms. Captain Frank Liu piloted with steady hands, his eyes never leaving the navigation display. Behind him, Katie and her team prepared their equipment. Each member carried non-lethal weapons, medical supplies, and communications gear. They wore light armor painted in matte black that absorbed sensor beams. Insertion point in 5 minutes, Frank announced quietly. Katie activated her helmet display, reviewing the facility layout one more time. The detention block was in the center of the station, surrounded by multiple security checkpoints. Normal infiltration would be impossible, but the Kalith technology gave them an edge. The Shadowrunner released a small insertion pod that drifted toward the station like debris. Inside, Katie and her team waited as the pod attached itself to an auxiliary airlock. The cutting torch began its work, slicing through the outer hull with precision that left no alarms triggered. They entered the station in complete silence. The corridors were dimly lit, designed more for functionality than comfort. Katie led the way, her scanner showing heat signatures of guards ahead. The quantum masking made them invisible to both visual and electronic detection, but they still needed to avoid physical contact. The first guard post appeared around a corner. Two armed beings sat monitoring security feeds, looking bored.
Katie signaled her team to halt.
They waited for 3 minutes until both guards left to get food from a nearby dispensary. The team slipped past the unmanned station without leaving any trace. Level 3 was more heavily guarded. Katie counted 6 patrol routes that intersected near the detention block entrance. Normal timing would make it impossible to pass all 6 without being seen. But Carlos Bennett, her tech specialist, had studied the security system for hours. Guard shift change in 90 seconds. Carlos whispered through the team channel. When they rotate, there will be a 12-second gap in coverage. They waited, pressed against the walls in shadow. Katie watched the chronometer count down. At exactly the right moment, she moved. The team flowed through the gap like water, reaching the detention block door just as new guards took their positions. The door lock was sophisticated, using both physical and electronic security. Normally, it would take hours to bypass. But Carlos pulled out a small device that Meridian had designed. It interfaced with the lock's quantum encryption and convinced the system that the door was still closed even as it opened. Inside the detention block, they found the crew of the Stellar Dawn. 15 humans sat in cells, looking tired but unharmed. Captain Gregory Shaw stood when he saw Katie's team appear seemingly from nowhere. "Terran military?" he asked quietly. "Yes, sir." "We are getting you out. Stay quiet and follow our lead." The cell locks opened silently. Katie distributed emergency pressure suits to the crew. Lightweight gear that would protect them during evacuation. She checked each person quickly, making sure no one was injured or unable to move fast. "What about the guards?" Gregory asked. "We avoid them. No violence unless absolutely necessary." They moved back through the corridors in a larger group now. The quantum masking covered all of them, but the increased numbers made stealth more difficult. Katie had to time their movements perfectly, watching guard patrols and sensor sweeps with intense focus. At checkpoint 2, something went wrong. One of the rescued crew members, still shaky from captivity, stumbled and knocked against a wall panel. The sound was small, barely audible, but in the quiet corridor it rang like a bell. A guard turned, his weapon coming up. What was that? Katie made a split-second decision. She stepped forward, deactivating her masking. The guard saw her suddenly appear and his eyes went wide with shock. "Looking for me," Katie said calmly. The guard shouted in alarm. Katie moved fast, her training taking over. She closed the distance before he could fire, using a nerve strike that dropped him unconscious without permanent injury. 2 more guards came running. Her team materialized around her, moving with practiced coordination. The fight lasted 18 seconds. All 3 guards went down, unconscious but alive. No shots fired, no deaths, no permanent injuries. "Move!" Katie ordered. The stealth approach was blown now. They had minutes before reinforcements arrived. The team ran through the corridors with the rescued crew. Alarms blared throughout the station. More guards appeared, and Katie's team engaged them with non-lethal weapons. Stun rounds and neural disruptors dropped hostiles without killing them. They reached the extraction point breathing hard. The Shadow Runner was already there, docked at an emergency airlock. The rescued crew piled into the Corvette while Katie's team provided cover. "Everyone aboard," Frank Liu called from the pilot seat. Katie was the last one through the airlock. As the door sealed behind her, she saw enemy ships approaching on the tactical display. The facility's defense forces were mobilizing. "Get us out of here, Captain," she said. The Shadow Runner detached and accelerated hard. Weapons fire lit up the void behind them, but the Corvette's stealth systems made targeting difficult. Frank Liu piloted through a debris field, using the cover to break sensor lock. 20 minutes later, they cleared the Zeta Void and entered human territory. The rescued crew sat in the passenger bay, still processing what had happened. Captain Gregory Shaw approached Katie. "Thank you," he said simply. "We thought no one was coming for us." "The Terran Empire does not abandon its people," Katie replied. "We always come for you." The mission report reached Earth within hours. Admiral Palmer reviewed it with President Maria Santos and the Military Council. The operation had been clean, professional, and effective. More importantly, it sent a message to the galaxy. Meridian met with Peter Grant in his office the next day. The Kalith representative seemed pleased, though its featureless face made expressions difficult to read. "You handled the situation well," Meridian said. "The Conquered expected you to respond with overwhelming force. Instead, you used precision and restraint." "We got our people back without starting a war," Peter replied. "That was the goal," the galaxy noticed. 3 more species have requested diplomatic relations with humanity. The Veldari Merchant Consortium wants to expand trade agreements. Even the Shen, who are usually part of the Conquered, have sent unofficial messages suggesting dialogue. Peter looked out at the station, watching ships from different species docking and departing. "We are becoming real players in galactic politics. You are becoming what the Kalith never managed to become," Navigator said, appearing beside Meridian. "You are strong without being threatening. You value your people enough to risk international incidents but restrained enough not to escalate." "We had good teachers," Peter said. "You had good instincts," Meridian corrected. "We simply helped you channel them properly." The rescue operation rippled through galactic society. Species that had viewed humanity as dangerous reconsidered their positions. The demonstration of capability combined with restraint changed opinions. Humanity was no longer just an unknown threat. They were beings who could project force but chose diplomacy when possible. Senator Marcus Webb, who had opposed the Kalith alliance in Parliament, requested a meeting with Peter. They met in a secure conference room, and Marcus looked uncomfortable. "Ambassador Grant, I owe you an apology," Marcus began. "I argued against the alliance because I thought it would make us weak. The Stellar Dawn rescue proved me wrong." "You are not wrong to question," Peter replied. "Skepticism keeps us honest. You pushed us to prove ourselves, and we did. The Kalith technology helped. The Kalith provided tools. Humans used them wisely. That is partnership, not dependence." Marcus nodded slowly. "I am starting to understand that. The galaxy is more complicated than I thought." "It is more complicated than any of us thought," Peter agreed. "But we are learning." Over the following weeks, 1 year after first contact, Ambassador Peter Grant stood before the Galactic Council for the first time. The council chamber was enormous, a sphere of polished crystal that floated in space above the planet Zentara Prime. Representatives from 47 species sat in designated sections, their forms ranging from humanoid to completely alien. Peter wore his formal diplomatic uniform, dark blue with silver trim representing Earth and the 12 human colonies. Beside him stood Meridian, present as humanity's sponsor. The Kalith representative had vouched for Earth's application to join the Council, a necessary step for any new species seeking membership. The Council speaker, a Veldari elder named Thorn, called the chamber to order. His voice carried through translation systems that converted his words into every language simultaneously. "The Terran Empire has petitioned for provisional council membership. We have reviewed their application and supporting documents. Does any member wish to speak before we vote?" A Shen Hierophant rose, her crystalline form refracting light in rainbow patterns. The Shen rarely spoke in council, preferring to observe and judge silently. Her decision to speak now drew attention from every representative. "The Shen Collective has concerns," she began, her translated voice carrying harmonics that suggested multiple speakers. "The humans are very young as a spacefaring species. Their history shows patterns of aggression and conflict. We question whether they are ready for the responsibilities of council membership." Peter had expected this. The Shen were traditional supporters of the Conquered of First Light, the group that wanted to limit human expansion. He kept his expression neutral and waited. Meridian stood to respond. "The Shen concerns are noted and understood. The Kalith Collective shares the history of aggressive expansion. We understand the dangers better than most. However, we have observed humanity for 20 years now. They have demonstrated the capacity for growth and restraint. One rescue operation does not prove readiness," the Shen Hierophant countered. "It proves only that they can follow instructions from their Kalith mentors." This time, Peter stood requesting permission to speak. Thorn nodded. "Honored representatives," Peter began, his voice steady despite the weight of 47 species watching him. "The Shen Hierophant is correct that humanity is young. We have been in space for only 3 centuries. We have made mistakes, fought wars among ourselves, struggled with the challenges of expansion, but we have also learned. He activated a holographic display that showed human history. Images of early space stations, first colonies, technological development, and diplomatic agreements with the Kryn and Veldari appeared. We did not wait for the Kalith to teach us restraint. Before first contact, humanity had already established the Colonial Protection Act, limiting expansion into systems that showed signs of developing life. We created the Terran Environmental Protocols, ensuring our colonies do not destroy the worlds we settle. We built these rules ourselves because we learned from our mistakes on Earth. A Kryn representative stood. The humans speak truth. We have traded with them for 15 years. They honor agreements and show respect for other species' territories. Their engineering approaches have contributed to 3 joint projects that benefited both our peoples. The Veldari trade minister added her support. Human merchants have integrated into our commercial networks without disruption. They compete fairly and honor contracts. Several human innovations in faster-than-light communication have improved our entire trade network efficiency. The Shen Hierophant remained standing. Pretty words and small actions. But consider their military buildup. In 20 years, they have expanded their fleet from 30 vessels to over 300. They fortify their borders and develop new weapon systems constantly. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species. Admiral Jack Monroe, attending as military observer, requested permission to speak. The Terran Defense Force has expanded to protect growing territory and increase trade routes. Every military development has been defensive in nature. We have not initiated conflict with any species. Our doctrine emphasizes protection and deterrence, not conquest. Yet you train your soldiers in aggressive tactics, the Shen pressed. Your special forces operations are studied throughout the galaxy as examples of efficient military action. We train to be effective, Jack replied calmly. But effectiveness does not mean aggression. The Stellar Dawn rescue showed that human forces can achieve objectives without unnecessary violence. We teach our soldiers that force is the last option, not the first. The debate continued for hours. Species that had positive interactions with humanity spoke in their favor. Those with concerns, mostly aligned with the conquered, raised objections. The Kalith remained present but let humanity defend itself, knowing that too much intervention would undermine Peter's arguments. During a recess, Peter met with Meridian in a private chamber. The vote will be close, Peter said. Yes, the council is divided. Some see your potential, others see only your risks. Meridian's form pulsed with light. But this is good. You are forcing them to debate, to consider carefully. Even if the vote fails today, you have made your case heard. And if we fail, then you try again in a few years. Council membership is important but not essential. You can still trade, form alliances, and participate in galactic affairs without a council seat. Peter nodded but felt the weight of responsibility. Billions of humans across 12 systems were watching this session, hoping for acceptance into the galactic community. The council reconvened. Speaker Thorne called for final statements before the vote. The Shen Hierophant spoke again. The Shen have deliberated during recess. We have decided to abstain from this vote. We are not convinced of human readiness, but neither are we convinced they are the threat some claim. Time will reveal their true nature. It was not support, but it was not opposition either. Peter felt a small surge of hope. A Tor collective representative spoke next, surprising everyone. The Tor were known conquered members who had opposed human expansion consistently. The Tor acknowledge human progress. While we maintain concerns about their rapid military development, we recognize their diplomatic efforts and economic contributions. We will vote in favor of provisional membership with conditions. The chamber buzzed with surprise. One of the conquered's strongest members had just broken ranks. When the vote came, the result was 31 in favor, 9 opposed, and 7 abstentions. The Terran Empire was granted provisional council membership for 5 years, after which a review would determine permanent status. Peter felt relief wash over him but kept his expression professional. The Terran Empire thanks the Council for this opportunity. We will work to prove worthy of your trust. That evening, celebrations erupted across human space. Cities on Earth, Mars, Europa, and all 12 colonies held festivals marking humanity's acceptance into galactic civilization. Peter watched the celebrations on news feeds from his quarters on Station Outpost 7. Feeling both pride and the pressure of expectations, Dr. Helen Cole visited his quarters carrying 2 glasses and a bottle of wine from Earth. You did well today, Ambassador. We did well, Peter corrected, accepting a glass. This is humanity's achievement, not mine alone. Speaking of achievements, I have news from the research centers. The Joint Human Calith Engineering Project has produced results. We have developed a hybrid propulsion system that combines our manufacturing approaches with their quantum understanding. Initial tests show 30% improvement in efficiency over either approach alone. Peter smiled. Real partnership producing real results. It gets better. 3 other species have requested to join the research project. They want to learn from both human and Calith methods. We are becoming a bridge between different technological philosophies. Katie Moore arrived next, still wearing her military uniform. She had been promoted to commander, and now led the Joint Operations Training Program with the Calith. The first mixed species training exercise is scheduled for next month. We have participants from 7 different species wanting to learn human tactical approaches. How do you feel about teaching potential rivals our methods? Peter asked. If we teach them, we also learn from them, Katie replied. Besides, I would rather have potential rivals who understand and respect our capabilities than enemies who fear what they do not understand. Admiral Jack Monroe was the last to arrive, bringing news from Earth. The Parliament voted to increase funding for the Diplomatic Corps by 40%. They are also establishing the Galactic Studies Institute to train future ambassadors and specialists in alien cultures. Humanity is serious about being part of the galactic community. Peter observed. We have no choice, Jack said. The galaxy is not going away, and neither are we. Better to engage honestly than hide in isolation. They talked into the night, discussing challenges ahead and opportunities emerging. The Provisional Council membership opened doors but also created obligations. Humanity would need to participate in peacekeeping operations, contribute to scientific initiatives, and navigate complex political alliances. 3 days later, Peter received an unexpected visitor. The Shen Hierophant who had questioned humanity in council requested a private meeting. They met in a neutral chamber, with Meridian present as observer.